if you have a radar detector, you absolutely need to have it installed with a blend mount. It's lightweight, durable, made of CNC machined aluminum with a black anodized finish. They have a vehicle fit guide to make sure it's the perfect fit for your car. I also use the hardwire kit for a cleaner setup. No more suction cup marks on your windshield. There's also a patented spring clip designed for easier removal. Make sure you guys use my link in the description below for a discount on your order. I have had my Audi RS7 for a year, put about 10,000 miles on it, and today we're going to talk about how much did it cost me to own this RS7 for a year. It's quite interesting to see how the numbers came out, and also it's a highly relevant piece of information if you're thinking about buying an Audi RS7. So I have a spreadsheet, there's a lot of numbers, so I'm going to look off my phone to start. Initially, I did the total expenditure, so including everything from taxes, registration, fuel cost, insurance, depreciation on the car. I totaled everything up, and it's the complete amount of money that left my bank account that I spent that is attributed directly to this RS7. So this is going to be the biggest number. In no particular order, we start from the top. Service, something you absolutely have to do with these vehicles. I did 5,000 mile interval oil changes on this, and luckily this car already had Audi Care. Audi Care is something that comes from the factory, includes several service intervals, and I had mine all the way up to, I believe, 45,000 miles. Car has just over 30,000 miles. So I did the 20,000 mile interval, which I actually used a different one, an earlier one. Then I used the 25,000 mile interval at 25,000 miles. When it hit 30,000 miles, I spent my own money, did an oil change. I went to the dealership because my dealer was only $150 for the oil change, which is not bad. The actual cost takes something like 9 quarts of oil plus the filter. Material cost, if you just go online to like ECS Tuning or something and look for them for the RS7, is almost $100. So I was fine with paying that labor, all the paperwork through the dealership, because again, this car is certified pre-owned. Next up, I spent $2,000 on these 20-inch Brixton wheels. I did get a very good deal on those, but I downsized to 20-inch wheels from the factory 21-inch wheels that were on the vehicle, so that was $2,000. I had to replace one of my winter tires. So the car came with a set of 21-inch Dunlop winter tires on the factory wheels that I was running in the snow, because it snows in Michigan in the winter. And the big downside of those 21s is you only have 30 sidewall. Your sidewall profile is very low, and Michigan roads suck, and I unfortunately didn't see a pothole when I was making a turn. It was literally at like 7 miles an hour, but it managed to damage the sidewall. It pinched it of one of my winter tires, and they are shockingly expensive for those 21s. And since I had 3 other ones, I bought a replacement. That was $400 through Tire Rack for one winter tire. Paint protection film and tints. I went to Sunshade in Troy and had I kind of went overboard with the amount of PPF we put on the car. So up to the hood, the entire front end, the mirrors, we went up the A-pillars, part of the roof line there, the bottom of the skirts, and then I actually later on added even more around the back. Darren, the owner of Sunshade, actually was like, why didn't we just PPF the entire car when we started? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't want to spend that much initially. I also did ceramic tints all around except nothing on the windshield. That cost total was $4,200 for PPF and the ceramic tints. Now insurance on this vehicle, Michigan has pretty high premiums. It costs about $200 per month. That's $2,400 for the year. Taxes, can't get away with taxes. 6% is sales tax in Michigan. Even though I bought it out of state, I pay Michigan sales tax. On the car, $75,000 car, I paid $4,500 in sales tax for the year. Registration in Michigan is also extremely high. The RS7, with the MSRP of over $100,000, every year to get my tags for my license plate was $515. So registration was $515. Gas. I spent approximately $1,700 on this car in gas, and this is how I came to that number, because I didn't add up every receipt and every time I went to the gas station. Averaging 18 miles per gallon, mix of city and highway driving, 10,000 miles at an average of about $3 per gallon of premium, 93, would come to about $1,700. So I rounded up. A lot of these numbers have a little bit of rounding. $1,700 for gas for the year. Next up was my carbon fiber diffuser. I unfortunately did not notice, nor did the pre-purchase inspection place, nor did the friends that came with me to see the car, nor did the dealership selling it, honestly, hopefully, that the rear diffuser had a crack on it. It had been bondoed, and then it got a vinyl wrap of carbon look vinyl on it. And none of us noticed till afterwards. I'd bought the car already. I think there's a video talking about that, because you guys saw. I had to put a new diffuser on it. If I walk into the dealership and go, hi, I'd like a new carbon diffuser for my RS7. It would be like $4,000. Now I'm like, holy crap, it's really, really expensive. The OEM carbon on this car is terrifyingly expensive. And there really weren't any aftermarket options. So I got really lucky. I went on eBay, and it must have come from like a crashed RS7 with the carbon optics package. I got a replacement OEM diffuser for $900. It had a couple scratches on it. I had the whole thing stripped, refinished, clear coated professionally, and then paint protection film put on it. So that cost $1,400 total with install for a brand new RS7 rear diffuser that looks perfect now, and it's got PPF on it to protect it. So that was $1,400. I bought 20-inch wheels, so needed 20-inch tires because you can't run 21-inch tires on 20-inch wheels. So I had Goodyear Supercar 3s. Those retail for about $1,340. Luckily, I did get a sponsorship. Thank you, Goodyear. We had a little bit of a deal going on, so I got those for a discount. But again, this is the total amount of cost that it would go to with this car. Miscellaneous, some other things like wheel and tire swaps that cost about $100 to get them dismounted and remounted and balanced and put on. Some other things, minor fixes. I bought a replacement trim piece. Miscellaneous things added up to, I estimated, about $500 over the course of the year. I had to redo my brakes, and RS7 brakes are really expensive. And it's a heavy, large sedan with a lot of power. It's really fast, and it's got strong brakes, but they wear pretty quickly. If you go on the forums and look, anywhere between 20 to 35,000 miles, you're going to need new rotors. And the actual thickness of the rotor that is usable is already pretty thin, and they're really expensive. Again, it's one of those things, if you go to the dealership and drop your car off and go, I'd like new brakes for my RS7, please. Your service advisor would go, well, that'll be anywhere around 3 to 4 to almost $5,000 for steel brakes. Carbon ceramics on the RS7 Performance are even more terrifyingly expensive, but just steel brakes are really pricey. Parts alone, if you just go source them, there's a thread on Audi Z, and I made a video talking about it. You can get full front and rear rotors and pads for about $2,200, $2,500, which is what I did. So it cost me about $2,500 to redo my front and rear rotors and pads. Needed to be done. The car squealed. The brakes were so squeaky. You applied a little bit amount of brake, and oh man, it was horrible. So that was $2,500. And then the last thing is a approximation, but I believe it is very, very accurate. Bought the car for $75,000, and when I go to sell it, I have a selling price already, $70,000. So the depreciation will cost me $5,000. There is the entire list of all the stuff that I paid for this car that has cost me. So the total cost of owning my RS7 for a year, and when I made my Excel spreadsheet, totaled this up and did sum of all the sales, I was like, what? $26,605. So over $26,000 to own an RS7 for a year. Now, this is total cost. I will break it down a little bit further in a second. Some of it was optional. Some of it you can't get away from. I always will have a car, so I'll pay for insurance. I need a drive place, so I'll pay for fuel. But that's letting you guys know how much I spent on my car last year, which when I looked at that number, I literally was just like, huh? Anyways, so it's not a cheap car. And this is everything. I included all the things, taxes, and things can vary. Finally, next up, we got to break it down because not everything was essential. So to come to a kind of a more accurate, true ownership cost of an RS7, I removed the non-essential things that were optional that I wanted to do because I like doing things to my cars. So 20-inch wheels weren't required. I could have kept driving on my 21s. 2 of them were slightly bent though because Michigan potholes suck. So I got a little bit of vibration, but I put them on the back and it wasn't that bad. But 20-inch wheels at $2,000 were optional. Paint protection film and tints, fully optional. You don't have to do that on a car. Some of you might get lucky if you find an RS7 that's already had it done. For example, the next owner of mine is going to have a fully protected car. I even had him wrap edges because the wider wheels and tires were throwing up rocks. I didn't want chips inside the wheel wells. I mean, it's got the rear luggage area wrapped and stuff in paint protection film. So you don't have to necessarily spend that. You could find one that's already had it done. So that's $4,200 I didn't absolutely have to spend. The tires, the Supercar 3s are pretty aggressive summer performance tires for the 20-inch Bricks and Forge wheels. Again, optional. That was over $1,300. The rear diffuser, fixing that was not a requirement. That shouldn't happen on every single car. I could not live with the fact that it wasn't quite perfect to my standard. I'm very particular with the car and I want it to be exactly the way I want it. So I definitely spent a lot of money getting it that way. But again, not every car should have that. So that is a $8,940, almost $9,000 that I spent on things that aren't absolutely essential. So if you subtract that from the original $26,000, you end up with a required unavoidable cost of $17,665. So over $17,500 to own the car for a year. Now, again, I even broke it down even further, and I took $4,100 is gas and insurance. Insurance, I'm gonna pay. Like, I'm gonna have a car to drive because I have to get places, I have to get to work, I have to go to a friend's house, I have to go to dinner. So that $2,400, and then also gas, I'm gonna drive. I'm not gonna not drive, so I would spend that money anyways. So you end up with a net total of right around $13,000. With depreciation factored in, with all the other stuff, things that came up, it is still a significant sum of money. But I love this car. I mean, this car has been great. It does everything. It's fast. It looks amazing. It's comfortable. It's luxurious. It sounds good. It's fun to drive. It's an expensive car, and you have to know going in there. So I'm going to continue with the caveats because, again, this is my specific ownership experience. Some people might buy an RS7. It might even cost them more if they bought it higher up in the depreciation curve, or they bought a one that's depreciated more, maybe a first generation, a C7, a 2014 or 2015, and it already had PPF, it already had blah, blah, blah done on it, so they could have saved. This is my specific experience, and I know I spent more to get a lower mileage car that was cleaner, and I wanted fully optioned. This car had a sticker price of almost $130,000. I needed the things. I needed carbon optics. I wanted Bang & Olufsen sound system, the Alcantara headliner, driver assistance features. So this is a very heavily optioned car. I bought it with lower miles and only had 20,000 miles, so that's below the average, because I wanted a cleaner car, and then I put a bunch of money into it to get it to the point where I have it now. Brakes were unfortunate, unavoidable, and just quite expensive, so that was a learning experience. High-end German cars cost a lot to maintain. Surprisingly, with Audi Care, oil changes and stuff were fine. I had no unforeseen major things that needed to go wrong. Nothing needed to be replaced. I was lucky with the turbos. They haven't gone out. I'll talk about that more in a different video, but that's partially why I did the 5,000 mile interchange, or oil change intervals. So the highlight number, the big headline number that could scare the crap out of you is I spent $26,000 to own this car. That's how much it cost me to have this car for 1 year, 10,000 miles. That's an undeniable, massive amount of money. For reference, I was talking to my friend when I ran up the total numbers. The R8 was way cheaper. The R8 I actually essentially drove for free because I sold it for more than I bought it for, because that car, gated manual, was like kind of heading slowly up and or holding. If you wait to probably now and even going further another year or buy an earlier RS7, you're going to delete a lot of those costs because I bought earlier up in the depreciation curve. And then the other thing is, if you own the car for longer, you amortize a significant amount of those costs over a longer period. So if you look at the yearly ownership cost, it's going to start diminishing. For example, sales tax. You pay that once up front. That's not a recurring cost. Because I've only had it for a year, that $4,500, $5,000 is all in 1 year. If you have it for 10 years, well, that comes down to not that much anymore. It drops down 3 years, 4 years, whatever you extrapolate it out to. Those are not recurring costs. But wanted to share these numbers with you guys, completely transparent. That's, I mean, how much money left my bank account for the RS7. Luckily, it's been my only car for a year, so that's all the money has been going towards this thing. I've been lucky that I can make videos and work with some different partners, sponsorships and brands to try to get certain deals on things, but owning the car has been a joy. It's been a little bit of a headache at certain times, like the brakes are kind of irritating and the diffuser was a little bit irritating, added some stress and a lot of work to go dig around and find a good deal on it, but it's definitely doable. This was one of my dream cars. Many people love these things. I've gotten messages about them. You want to know how much it costs, and if you have questions, definitely reach out, comment below. But those are the numbers that I came up with on how much it costs to own an Audi RS7 for a year. Hope you guys like this video. Make sure you like, comment, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. I've got a couple other videos of the RS7 out there throughout my ownership, from when I collected it to getting it paint protected and this and this and that. We're going to do one talking about everything you need to know before you buy a used RS7, cover a lot of important things that you'll want to consider. Thanks for watching, guys.